Hey everyone, this is Ahmad from A.H.M.A.D music.com and A.H.M.A.D guitar lessons. Today I'm going to be talking about scales. What are scales? What are the common scales? How to practice your scales? How to use scales musically to improvise and create your own music. This is the second video that I'm doing. I appreciated the comments that I got and the feedback, and with time I'm gonna try and make and post more videos on YouTube. So what are scales? Scales are basically analyzing the notes of a song. It is a set of tones or notes that are grouped together, and usually they are played ascending, descending in order, meaning from the lowest note to the highest note, going all the way up the scale or the tonal ladder and coming down. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're new to scales and you do not have the basic theory. So let's take a look at the scale of C major. This is the white keys on a piano, and you can Google all that stuff. You can just go to Google and put a C major chart or any scale I'm going to be talking about. So let's take a look at C major scale. Simply all I'm playing are Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Si, or as known in American, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So this is known as the C major scale, which lies at the base and foundation of Western music theory. So, and the tones are as follows: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in the scale, there is 7 tones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And back to the first tone, the 8th, the higher octave. As I said, the major scale is at the foundation of Western music theory. So you gotta know your major scale. You can do more research on that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment. I can provide the charts for that. Now that you are familiar with the scales and their tones, there's lots of scales out there, thousands of scales, but most guitarists need to know a handful of them. I'm gonna mention a few common scales that you need to know. And in my opinion, I'll try to do it in the order of the most basic one and the ones that you need to know. There's minor pentatonic, the basic rock scale, used in other genres, blues scale, minor scale, major scale, all the modes of the major. Maybe I'll post another video and talk about the modes, and they are Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. So these are the 7 modes of the major. There's hybrid scales, Dorian blues hybrid, minor blues, major blues, there's harmonic minor, and there's Phrygian dominant. There's many more scales, but most guitarists, like I said, do not need to know them. There are other scales like advanced jazz scales, right, which I never learned till later after a few years of playing the guitar. Now that we covered the scales, their tones, what are common scales, we're gonna go into practicing scales. So what are scales? Scales are like the alphabet. Do you remember when you went to school and learned the alphabet? You started practicing your alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. Now, why do we do that? We use the alphabet to create words, phrases, verses. Eventually, you write an essay or a book, and so on. Same thing with scales. You practice the scales like an alphabet, so eventually you use them to create your own verses and music and improvise. and I'm gonna go over that in a bit of detail. First, you wanna practice your scales smoothly and evenly. Now, what scales to practice is the one that I mentioned. Do a weekly or bi-weekly schedule where you can focus on one day, you can focus on one scale, or you can do multiple scales, or you can go over all the scales if you practice long hours a day. You can go over each and every scale quickly. With time, you'll be quicker. So it doesn't matter, just practice them regularly so you won't forget them. Most importantly, use them musically and set your own schedule. Later, maybe I'll post another video about practicing routines. But most importantly, experiment with different practice routines, times, days, and find the one that works for you. Now, practicing scale. Let's start with a basic rock scale, minor pentatonic. You can Google that. And as I mentioned, I can post charts if anybody is interested, but you can find that stuff online. I'm gonna start with A minor pentatonic. The first step is practicing your scale smoothly and evenly. Speed doesn't matter at the beginning stages. Smooth and even. Another thing is practice your picking. A simple way of picking, and most commonly used, is just alternate, down, up, down, up. So you just go down, up, down, up, down, up, and so on. Also, in addition to practicing down, up, you can decide to go all down, for example. But most importantly, you gotta sound smooth and even. Now, the next stage is you wanna memorize it. After you play it a few times, as much as it takes, try to play it from memory. And you're gonna screw up along the way, that's okay. Try to play it from memory. The next step is practice with a metronome. You can download one on your phone, or you can find many metronomes online. Let's see if I can find one. Yeah, here is this one. It's imusic-school.com. I can post that in the comments later if needed, or in the video description. So you set it at a speed you're comfortable with and try to play with a click. Now, I read that somewhere. I don't know if it's the golden rule, but try to aim for 80 BPM eighth notes. So I will show you what that sounds like. Eighth notes are 2 notes in one beat spaced evenly in 4/4. So it should sound something like that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... All right, now that we stopped that. So you really want to practice your scales thousands of times, or 1,000 times. I sound smooth and even, and I can play it fast because I've done it 1,000 times, right? You want to reach a level of just like the alphabet. When you're talking to someone or you're talking on YouTube, you're not thinking about what you're gonna be saying, meaning I'm playing guitar. You don't think in terms of alphabet, I, M, P, L, A, Y, I, N, G, etc. The words just flow out of your mouth. So same thing with the guitar. The notes gotta flow out of your whatever. Fingers, intuition, you're downloading that stuff, creativity, right? You want to reach a point where you're not thinking when you're playing the scale, right? When you practice, think. That's okay. Think about the tones you're playing, right? The tones of the scale, the number of the scale. But when you're playing, I don't think about what notes I'm playing. I don't think about theory, because I've practiced these scales thousands of times. You want to also eventually try to create or use these scales musically. For example, the A minor pentatonic that I just played, here's an example of using it musically. It's used in lots of common songs. For example, I changed the key, of course. Also, this is A minor pentatonic. Let's take a look at F sharp minor. This is a very common song, the Crazy Train, right? Ozzy, Randy Rhoads. That's an F sharp minor. It's a simple utilization of the F sharp minor scale. I also use these scales to improvise, and I'm gonna show you how. I try to create simple licks. You can try to practice your scales over a backing track. You can try to experiment with changing keys. So changing keys is simply the root note or the tonal center, or to make it in simpler term, what note you are starting from. So for example, the A minor pentatonic, if I start on the 12th fret, the E, and I play the same shape and pattern, that would be E minor pentatonic because I started from the E on the 12th fret. By the way, E minor pentatonic, it came from the minor scale, which is 7 notes. Pentatonic means, I believe, 5 notes in Latin. So we took 5 notes out of the 7 notes of the minor scale, which gave us the basic blues and rock and pop scale. Oceans and oceans of songs are written using that minor pentatonic scale, similar to the blues scale, but that's another topic. Now, how do you improvise? Also, you can go to YouTube, let's say the E minor scale, or just go to YouTube and put, for example, E minor backing track. There is literally thousands of backing track in any key on YouTube. Everybody and their own mother put a backing track on YouTube. Some of them are really good. I like lots of them. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Pick one that resonates with you. You can add the genre you like. For example, E minor backing track rock, E minor backing track hip hop, whatever. So let's pick the first one that pops. E minor beautiful soft backing track extended edition. Now notice how the minor scale or the E minor pentatonic will fit nicely over that track. And why is that? Really quickly, because all the notes and the songs that are being played came from the scale. Even the chords. Chords are harmonized scales, meaning you're playing 2 or more notes together. So, gonna play it slowly, right? Try to play scale at the beginning, smoothly and evenly. Then try to create little melodies. and so on, right? So this is an example of improvising. As I'm playing, I'm not thinking much, right? It just happened. I don't know what I'm gonna be playing the next note, right? This is called improvisation. It's creativity, right? And of course, that comes with dedication and practice, and most importantly, enjoy, practicing scales. Now, I've seen interviews with lots of famous players where they say, "Oh, I never practiced scales. All I did was I did solos by my favorite guitar players," right? But the same thing, solos are really scales, right? Now, if you find yourself making a mistake when you play the scale, that's okay. Literally, you can play any note. It doesn't really matter. So let's say I'm gonna go over the minor scale. I'm gonna go off and play some wrong notes or all the notes, and I'm gonna come back. Not a big deal, right? See, that's an example. I played all the notes. You see me doing that chromatic run. Doesn't matter. That's actually a concept in jazz guitar where you go off the scale, create tension, and you come back. Not commonly used in rock, but I think in fusion and progressive kind of music and jazz and advanced jazz, you hear that. That's it for practicing your scales. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Let me know about what would you like me to talk about next in my videos. If you like the video, please press the like button. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully that will be of value and help.